Silicon Valley is starting to align on different sides of the political aisle as the election draws closer. Our next guest is a longtime tech investor who donated to President Biden's campaign in 2020. Joining us right now is Alan Patricof. He's a veteran venture capitalist and co-founder and chairman of Primetime Partners. Alan, this is kind of the rest of America sitting up and starting to take sides on this, too. There have been some who have posited that Silicon Valley is not nearly as democratic as it was, let's say, 4 years ago, 8 years ago. Is that the sense you get?
Well, I read what you read, and frankly, it discourages me. It makes me feel that people are so focused on their pocketbook and their self-interest and not really thinking about, the democracy, the total country, and it's totally related to self-interest. I mean, they're worried about the fact that the Trump tax cuts will not be renewed. They're worried about competition and Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor being tough on antitrust. And those are issues that are really in the best interest of the company. We haven't had an antitrust law since, Clayton Act and the Sherman Act and maybe, Robinson-Patman Act, but we haven't had new antitrust legislation, and we now have people looking at whether competition, we should stimulate competition. So there are issues that I think are totally related to self-interest that are affecting Silicon Valley.
For a long time, and you got all kinds of Republican friends, and I know that you're not saying that every one of them is just thinking about self-interest. It is reasonable that certain people can think that Reagan-type policies lift the entire ship, and that low taxes, less regulation brings more prosperity. And it's not just that they think that, in my view, Democratic policies end up hurting the people they're designed to help. And Democrats never want to talk about that and connect the dots. And I think that the people that you're trying to help, they get hit with inflation, with all this spending. So I just think that's really a cynical view of all these people that all they're thinking about is their after-tax, what they get to put in their pocket.
I don't want to, Joe, I don't want to seem a total altruist, but I'm looking out the window here and I see a huge American flag on one of the windows across the street. I mean, huge. I don't know. I honestly am concerned about the country. Because I'm concerned about what Donald Trump stands for. I mean, I think it stands for issues that concern me and concern my children and grandchildren. And I worry about it. And I worry about that decision that took place yesterday. I mean, 12 people who I don't know voted on a 100% consistent basis to bring action against the ex-president of the United States. That's pretty significant.
There's plenty of Americans that look at what's happening on the southern border and think that America is going down the tubes, and look at the crime issue, and look at what's happening in myriad issues with inflation and debt and everything else, Alan. So yeah, but listen, that doesn't give you a monopoly on the flag. We need
several million more workers in this country to help solve our deficit.
You don't need to do that through illegal immigration.
Well, Joe Biden, listen, I'm not a proponent specifically of Joe Biden. I'm just looking at the issues and looking at the different people. And, my area is focused right now on older people, and I'm concerned with, what's going to happen to them, Social Security, Medicare, and issues like that. And I think that under a Biden administration, there's going to be much more concern about those issues than there are under Trump. I mean, we're not here to discuss specific politics, but I think that the Biden has got the interest in the general population more so than Trump does, and that's what concerns me.
Alan, why don't we talk a little bit about AI? Because we had a venture capitalist who was here earlier this week who suggested that all of these AI plays are overvalued. He hasn't invested in any of them directly yet, and that he thinks that this is going to be very cyclical, like you saw maybe back with the dot-com era, and like you've seen in other innovations in the past.
I don't know who you had on, but I agree with him 100%. I'd say 110%. I mean, we have an enormous flood of money going into the AI area. I mean, I saw something like $250 million just in the last year. and I think it's happened before, and every time we've seen it happen, whether it's thinking most recently crypto, we have excesses, and at the end, some people are going to get hurt. I'm sure some people are going to make a lot of money out of it, but when you see companies, coming out of the gate and raising money at $100 billion valuation, or as we saw just a few days ago, Elon Musk raising $6 billion at a $18 billion valuation. People want to get on the bandwagon, and they're afraid of missing out. I mean, this is FOMO is as you know, which is fear of missing out, is prevalent today in the AI area. Every company, young company, has decided that if they add AI to their name, they have a better chance of raising money. I'm interested in AI from the standpoint of the implications it has for the companies that we've invested in, and I think it's absolutely going to have an enormous impact on productivity in so many different areas, whether it's education or whether it's technology or whether it's biotech. But in our area, we're seeing it in companies that are servicing. We have two companies, for example, a company called Kintsugi on the West Coast and Isaac on the East Coast, and they're using AI in their technology to try to predict people, in one case, depression through remote telecom, and the other one to discern possible decline in dementia and be predictive. And I think that's a great use of AI, and I think we can see lots of other. We have another one called Cardo, which does that in terms of heart disease and how to prevent or how to slow it down. Those applications are all over the place, and I think that's going to be the major beneficiary of AI.
The venture capitalist we had on earlier this week was Mitchell Green from LeadEdge. His point was you will see NVIDIA making a lot of money, and potentially some of the big cloud companies that are using their cloud computing to help with this. Do you have any direct AI investments?
No, we don't make any. We're all focused on it. Primetime Partners is focused on investing in products, services, and technologies that are going to help older people live longer and live healthier. And that's a very worthy objective. And AI is certainly going to be a tool that we're going to use. But I think lots of industries are going to use it. And but investing directly in a platform would involve funds that are probably 10 times the size of the funds we have. But our companies will benefit from it.
How quickly? Is this a now, or is this a down the road?
Right. As we're sitting here, I mean, every company is looking at how they can introduce more machine learning, more AI tech tools in order to accelerate what they're doing and shorten time cycles and reduce people. I was talking to one of our companies recently, a company called Qualcomm, which does analysis of coding for senior living providers and how to reduce their receivables from 60 days down to 20 days by faster processing and reconciling the coding so that they don't get stuck and have a 60-day receivable. They can have a 20-day receivable. That's a direct application. And the process,
and it pays
obviously,
off right now.
They're going to probably, customers will reduce their number of employees that have been sitting and doing this manually. So, it has enormous implications.